Amtrak has a problem. Well, actually it has a lot of problems, but this video will highlight one of them. That is the ongoing reliability issues with its new locomotives, the Siemens SC44 Charger and the ALC42 Charger. The SC44s have been in service for a little over 6 years now, primarily hauling regional trains out of Chicago, in addition to Pacific Surfliner and Amtrak Cascade service on the West Coast. The ALC42s, on the other hand, have been in service for just over a year, operating long-distance trains. Unfortunately, these new engines have been giving Amtrak trouble lately, especially during the winter. Sometimes they won't start due to the freezing weather, or maybe they'll break down during a journey. In fact, when I last took Amtrak back in February, my Saluki train had 2 Charger locomotives because one of them broke down the day before. Thankfully, Siemens is working to modify the locomotives so they can better withstand the winter, but whatever the case may be, Amtrak has been forced to default back to locomotives the Chargers were meant to replace. For example, the ALC42s for a time would be allowed to operate long-distance trains on their own. During the wave of issues, these locomotives would be seen operating trains with their predecessors, the GE Genesis P42DC, until the issues were solved. For a brief period in February, the Saluki and Illini corridor trains between Chicago and Carbondale were, for a few weeks, regularly hauled by P42DC locomotives for the first time in years, thanks to the SC44s having issues. I've made plenty of videos regarding these trains in the past and initially didn't even plan on making this video. But when I realized the P42DCs were temporarily filling in for the Chargers, I didn't want to miss documenting this rare opportunity. So with that being said, please sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. We start today's journey about 3,000 feet above Chicago as we descend into O'Hare International Airport on board a Frontier Airlines flight from Atlanta. We arrived at Terminal 5 around 6:30 a.m. and as soon as I got off the plane, I rushed over to the CTA Blue Line station so I could get downtown as quickly as possible. Had this been a weekday, I would have been able to catch the Metra North Central service directly into Union Station, but this was a Sunday and that service doesn't run on weekends, even though it definitely should. I got to Union Station around 7:45. The reason why I was in such a rush is that my train home departed at 8:15, and Amtrak usually starts boarding about 15 to 30 minutes before departure. This would be my first time since 2015 taking train 391. This train, which later becomes train 392 back to Chicago in the evening, was suspended for a time during the pandemic before being restored earlier this year. And just a quick detail that I forgot to mention earlier that I'm gonna mention now, the 391-392 round trip was actually restored for a brief period in 2021. It lasted for a few months before being suspended again, and then just a few months back in December 2022, Amtrak once again restored the 391-392 round trip, and it continues to operate to this day. It turns out that because of some mechanical issues, our train hadn't even been placed on the track by the time I reached the boarding gate. It was another 15 or so minutes before we started boarding. As we walked out to board our train on track number 20, I couldn't help but feel a wave of nostalgia. Even though the P42s are still in active service on other routes, as I said, it's been years since these engines were hauling regional trains in the Midwest. As we got closer, I realized that this is engine number 58, the exact same engine featured in this video from a few months back. Aside from this locomotive, there is another huge surprise on the back of this train that I didn't realize until I got off in Champaign, but you'll see that at the end.
This train is going to Champaign, Carbondale. This is City of New Orleans right here, arriving from New Orleans and also Champaign, Carbondale.
Passengers for Champaign get assigned a specific car of the train, and today our coach is a combined coach baggage car. The vast majority of seats in the Superliner coaches are located on the upper level and laid out in a 2x2 configuration. This particular coach was recently refurbished with new leather seat covers, replacing the older fabric covers. To be quite honest, and this is true for airlines as well, ironically enough, I preferred the fabric more as it was softer and roomier. But then again, leather is much easier to clean than fabric, and the seats are very comfortable nonetheless. Amenities provided at each coach seat include a tray table, seat pocket, and footrest with plenty of leg space. There are 2 power outlets on the wall under the window, which is kind of awkward for the aisle seat passenger as they'd have to reach across you to charge their device. The seats also have adjustable footrests, but ironically, despite the seat covers being replaced, the seat controls are still rough and hard to use. There are also curtains present on each seat in case you want to block out the sunlight. As I said earlier, this coach is a combined coach baggage car, so the lower level compartment that otherwise would have more coach seats is instead used for extra luggage storage. The bathrooms are also located on the lower level of the Superliners. Amtrak bathroom condition is always a hit or miss, but because this train is fresh out of Chicago, it's pretty clean.
Can keep it really.
Shortly after departing Homewood, I paid a visit to the cafe located on the lower level of the last car. I hadn't eaten properly in probably 12 or so hours, and so I purchased a bagel and blueberry muffin to have as breakfast. Now, Amtrak food is never the healthiest option, but it was good to finally eat something.
Ladies and gentlemen, now arriving Kankakee. If Kankakee is your destination, now it's time to collect personal belongings. Head to the surface car down the stairs of the train. Kankakee now arriving. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Kankakee. Once again, that was Kankakee. Gilman. Gilman will be next in approximately 20-30 minutes. We have no ticketed passengers for Gilman. Once again, we have no ticketed passengers for Gilman. If you'd like to detrain in Gilman, now will be the time to let the conductor know.
We stopped in Gilman for probably 5 seconds before setting off again. As you may have heard earlier, that's because no one was scheduled to get on or off here, the least used Amtrak station in all of Illinois. About 30 minutes later, we pulled over onto a siding in Paxton, Illinois to make way for a northbound train.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? We're stopped here at a place called Paxton, just waiting for a train to get by us. As soon as they do, we'll continue on our way. And once again, just waiting for a train to get by us. As soon as they do, we'll continue on our way.
Oh, and that train was the northbound Saluki Train 390, which, go figure, was also led by a P-42. So overall, this Amtrak experience wasn't anything special, but I was totally satisfied with everything in spite of the slight delay. It was only because of the rare engine swap that I thought this was worth covering. Another good experience on Amtrak today, and here we are arriving back in Champaign. Oh, and what was that surprise on the back of our train today? Another P-42DC and an Amtrak California F-59 PHI that were headed an hour south to Effingham for some testing. This is probably the first time that a locomotive like this ever came through here. As I walk back to my campus apartment, thanks so much for tuning in today. If you enjoyed, please leave a like, comment, and also subscribe if you're new to the channel. More flight trip reports will be coming out soon, so stay tuned. But until next time, take care, and I'll see you soon.